atheists on YouTube like Cult of Dusty or Mr. Repzion or whoever else that claim that they used to be a Christian and now all they do is strawman Christianity and bash religion as a whole.
I would kindly ask that you provide me with a video clip or a video where I actually strawman Christianity, because I do a really good job, I think personally, of not strawmanning Christianity. And I can't recall of any videos that I've made that I've strawmanned Christianity whatsoever. But if you can provide me a clip or some place where I have done so in my videos on Christianity or religion, by all means, please present it to me and I will address it or say that you're right, I strawmanned something and I shouldn't have done that. However, as far as I'm concerned and as far as my audience is concerned, if I typically strawman something, I usually get pointed out by the people watching me, and as far as I'm aware, that has not happened in any of my videos regarding religion. But again, you're welcome to prove me wrong on that, and if I am wrong, I will admit that. But one of the things that you have to understand is if you're going to say things like, he strawmans Christianity, is it's really important that you back up that claim, because there's one thing I don't like is when people make accusations about me saying something or doing something, yet they provide no substantial evidence to prove what I said or what I did. It helps me, and it helps me see where I've went wrong or what I've done wrong, but you haven't done that here, so please do that next time if you're going to say something like, I've strawmanned all of Christianity, because I don't believe I have.
In one of Dusty's videos, he says that he loves Christians and he understands why we proselytize. Even an atheist like Penn Jillette once said, how much do you have to hate somebody not to proselytize? And yet Dusty says that he proselytizes atheism for the same reason, because he believes that religion, and mostly he talks about Christianity, is dangerous.
You see, I agree with that last point. I do believe that religion is in fact dangerous. But I have made a very, very big goal here on my channel, Mr. Repzion, not to proselytize anything really. Especially atheism. Now, granted, I've had people send me emails and things on Tumblr saying, hey, you've helped me leave religion, I've left Mormonism, I've left Christianity, and I'm now an atheist thanks to you. But it was never been my intention to proselytize my atheism, because if an atheist is proselytizing and trying to convert people to become an atheist, I would call him this. He's no different than the Christian who tries to convert somebody to Christianity, and I'm not like that. The thing is, I stress the point that I want people to think outside the box. My videos on religion, about Christianity, about religion as a whole, I'm trying to challenge people. I want Christians or any religious folk to think about what they believe, why they believe it, challenge it, and maybe even create doubt for why they believe what they believe so that they may question it. Because if there was one thing that I wish I had done sooner in my younger adolescence years was questioned what I believe, but I had no one around to challenge me. I had no one around to tell me or challenge me on, Daniel, you should try to defend this. Try to defend how the Bible is infallible. Try to defend inerrancy of God when it's been written by so many different authors. You know, I had no one challenging me. And because I had no one challenging me, I was religious for years of my life, all the way up until 16, 17 years of age. And that's my goal on YouTube when I make videos about religion, is not to convert, not to proselytize, but to make people think outside the box. Because if there's one thing that I want everybody to have, whether they're religious or not, is the ability to think rationally and not just believe what they are told. That's what I want. That's what I strive for here on my channel, on Mr. Repzion, when I talk about religion.
One thing that I don't understand about you atheists that say that you used to be Christian, you have no credibility. The reason I say that you don't have any credibility is, because at one time you were delusional, so you think, because you pray to a God that you do not believe exists, but now you've seen the light and you know that God does not exist. How do you know that you're not delusional now?
How do I know that I'm not delusional now? Well, because I wasn't delusional when I was a Christian. I was ignorant. Ignorance and being being delusional are quite two separate things. And of course, you can be delusional and ignorant, but I was ignorant. And because I was ignorant, and because I didn't have people challenging me, because I wasn't I wasn't around people who were atheists. I wasn't around people. Growing up, I was around people all who held my same beliefs. And when you're around people who all affirm your beliefs, religious beliefs, it's really hard to get out of that mindset when you're constantly reaffirmed of why you believe what you believe for shitty reasons, and they're really poor, unsubstantiated reasons with no evidence. But because you're around it so much, because you grow around it, it's really hard to pry your thinking away from that. So I was ignorant. It was pure ignorance. It wasn't a delusion for me. And for the most part, I wouldn't call Christians who believe in God delusional. I almost want to call them ignorant, or not ignorant, but I want to call them. I almost want to say stubborn, because in face of all the evidence and facts that have been thrown towards them, they still choose to remain based upon faith. And I find that as a big problem, despite all the evidence that is thrown against them, and evolution, and I could go on and on and on about all the things that contradict the Bible in terms of science, and yet they still choose their faith. They still choose their faith in God. I wouldn't call them ignorant. I wouldn't call them delusional. I would call them purely stubborn and resistant to wanting to change, wanting to learn, wanting to grow, because they're so embedded in their world. I don't even know how to describe it. They're so embedded in their mindset that nothing you say or do is going to change them. And that's sad. That's sad when you get people like that, because they're not capable of change, and they'll never change because they're so indoctrinated and so embedded that nothing can change their mind. That's narrow-mindedness, or that's stubbornness, whatever you want to call it, I don't know.
You just can't be trusted. You have a track record of being delusional, admittingly delusional. See, whereas to me, I know God. You say that you once knew God, and if you say that you never knew God because you're delusional, then you were never a Christian.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that you're using a false dichotomy, also known as a false dilemma. In other words, when I was a Christian, I was delusional, but now that I'm an atheist, I'm still delusional because I was delusional. So it's like this either-or option. I was either delusional when I was a Christian, or I'm a delusional now when I'm an atheist. And there's a third option. The third option being that I was not delusional when I was a Christian, and I'm not delusional now because I'm out of my ignorance. I don't even know if that makes sense. I am so tired right now. You can probably tell in my voice that I'm like, but if there's one thing that really pissed me off about what you said here, is that I know God. See this? I know God. I know the real God. I grew up with that all of the time, and that was probably the number one thing which actually turned me against my faith, was the people who were these self-righteous Christians who were like, see, I know God. I have the real relationship with God. I have a stronger relationship with God. You're not a real Christian. And I was told that I wasn't a real Christian because I watched Star Wars, okay? Yeah, I watched Star Wars growing up, and I loved Star Wars, and I was told because that had elements of paganism in it, and the yin-yang and all that, the Force and stuff, that I wasn't a Christian because I watched Star Wars. I mean, come on. So it's nothing new that people like you still exist who seem to claim, I know God, you weren't ever a Christian. And there's some fallacy by this name, I can't even think of it, where they say, you know, well, you weren't a real person, you weren't the real Christian, therefore it wasn't genuine. It's a fallacy name, I can't even think of it because I'm so tired right now. But if anyone knows that, please point it out in the video description, video comments below.
Does that make any sense? If you never know somebody, then you're not a Christian. You played lip service. You believed in the platitudes of Christianity, maybe. You believed in the promises that preachers gave you, maybe. But did you ever have the Holy Spirit just change your life? It's just like this burning on the inside, and it's something that affects who you are from the core, and not just who you are politically.
This is a really hard topic for me to discuss regarding the Holy Spirit, because I had times in my life when I was a Christian where I felt, well, from how the Bible describes it, I felt empowered by God. I felt spiritual. I felt emotional. For those of you who don't know, when I was 14, my parents sent me to what is known as Worldview Academy. Search it up in Google. It's a real thing, still goes on right now. Worldview Academy is a conference in which you stay for a week at this conference, and you have people like William Lane Craig, who I've watched live, and a bunch of other Christian apologists. And you're taught at this place to defend Christianity and use arguments that I've already covered and refuted in my videos here before, but it's basically how to defend Christianity. Look it up, Worldview Academy. Now, when I attended Worldview Academy, I had several experiences which really, at that time, I thought was the Holy Spirit, but maybe it was just a spiritual and emotional experience that I can't really explain. But at that time, I felt like it was the Holy Spirit. At that time, at 14, I actually recommitted my life to Jesus because I felt as if I was falling away and I wasn't following Jesus thoroughly and obedient enough, following the Bible and praying every day. And when I remember when I recommitted my life that day at age 14, I was crying because I felt so ashamed that I had neglected God, and that I was falling away from God, and that I wasn't reading my Bible, I wasn't praying every day. And when I accepted Jesus into my life at age 14, I remember feeling like this wave of just like, I can't even really explain it, like this wave. And at the time when I told my leader what I was feeling, he told me that was the Holy Spirit. That was the Holy Spirit conforming me and transforming me and making the difference in my life. And at that time I believed him. But now I think back and I'm like, it was probably just one of those spiritual, emotional experiences where you have, and I can't really explain. I don't believe it was the Holy Spirit because, well, number one, I don't believe the Holy Spirit exists, and I don't believe in the Bible and all that stuff. But at the time, I did. And I have a hard time when Christians say that you've never been affected by the Holy Spirit, because how do you differentiate between an emotional spiritual connection with an experience which is just you and your emotions, you know? How do you differentiate between the Holy Spirit overcoming you versus a spiritual an emotional experience that you have? I don't know how you differentiate the two, because I think that they're very closely, if not completely, identical. And because I don't know how to describe which is which, I don't know how you can either as a Christian. But that's here nor there. I'm really losing my train of thought right now. As you can tell, I'm stuttering.
Okay, being a Christian doesn't mean all of a sudden you're a conservative, Reagan-loving Christian that worships the Bible. I tell you, I know about that type of Christianity, and quite frankly, it bores me. I think the type of Christianity you're fighting against is some sort of good old boys club that you were once a part of, or at least very closely affiliated with. And that's not going to get you anywhere. And so for you to say that you care about Christians and you understand why we do what we do, then basically call us delusional nut jobs, or that we're crazy, or that we worship a false god, or that we believe in fairy tales. It just makes me think about how you feel about your former self.
It actually does make me think a lot about my former self, because if you watch my video, Fuck Me, I Was Wrong, it's on my YouTube channel. I'm pretty harsh on myself. I still am really harsh on myself. I am probably my own worst enemy. I am probably the most critical, hateful person on me. Because I'm a perfectionist, number one, and that is a big thing about it. But I am a very, very harsh person on myself, because I'm always striving to be better, striving to learn, striving to grow. And the fact that I spent so many of my years being so ignorant and stupid, believing shit that doesn't even make sense, that has no facts or logic behind it to support it, no substantial evidence or no empirical data. It's just, it angers me. It angers that I was so dumb. So you're right about, I look at myself and I reflect on myself all of the time, and I put myself down for it. But you know what? That's part of life, is growing up and realizing that you were wrong about things. And hopefully you, the guy watching, I'm responding to right now, hopefully in due time you'll realize that about yourself, that I don't know where I was going with that. That maybe you could be wrong. Yeah, that maybe you could be wrong. That you don't have all the answers about Christianity. That you act on faith rather than evidence. Blind faith, I should say, and that's sad to me.
And if you felt that way about your former self and your former decisions, I can't see any credibility in any decisions that you could possibly make.
I don't really see how this is so at all, because I think the exact opposite. The fact that I grew up and I don't really see how that makes any sense, because I would actually argue the opposite. Because I changed, because I saw where I was wrong, that gives me credibility. That's just my personal opinion, but feel free to disagree with me. Thank you guys for watching. I apologize. I'm really out of it this video. I am very, very tired, as you can tell. I also am in a lot of physical pain because I punctured a muscle on my back spine. So I'm in a lot of pain right now. So anyway, I'm going to leave it to that. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Daniel Sulzbach. Peace, the rep out. Have a fantastic Monday. If Mondays can be a fantastic day, because Mondays usually suck.